Hey everybody, Alex here, and welcome to another video, an all-American pickup video for, what month are we in? December. December. Wow, January of 2025, and a little bit of December too. So I think I'm just gonna come right out here and say, because usually I come up with a title towards the end of these turkeys. We're calling this one Upgrade. Because there is basically just a lot of upgrades in this pickup video. Um, as a bunch of you guys know, as of late, I've been trying to steer away from buying things on the Switch just because it can't handle it. But as these things go, the second I decide, hey, we're going to be switching everything over to the PS4 and PS5, that's when Nintendo is like, hey guys, guess what? Switch 2 is actually a thing. Best kept secret of all time. Like Monday coming after a Sunday. It's just, who would have thunk that we would have had a Switch 2? And it wasn't even like a real announcement. It was an announcement of an announcement. So, kind of annoying. And they showed a Mario Kart game, which a lot of people say is a new one. They look the same to me. But I'm excited. Uh, I I imagine it's coming out this year. Who knows when? I mean, probably before the holidays because Nintendo do what Nintendo do, which is everything ass backwards. But anyway, on to the pickup. So as I said, this is going to be entitled Upgrade because there are a lot of games that I either previously had on Switch or there is a remaster or a remake of a game that has been upgraded to a different platform or just redone in a certain way. So we're kicking right off with Freedom Planet here on the PS4. So I originally played Freedom Planet back in the day on PC. Absolutely loved it. Back when a indie pixel side-scrolling Sonic wannabe game was a novelty, and now we have so many of them, right? And arguably some of them are better. This one is definitely better than most of the more recent 2D Sonic games, Sonic Mania excluded, of course. And I really enjoyed it. And eventually, Limited Run decided they were going to put out a Switch version and a PS4 version. And at the time, the Switch was, that's what everybody was collecting. And this is also around the time that they start to shift things to Best Buy. And Freedom Planet was one of them. I actually pre-ordered it through Best Buy because I prefer the cover art to the one that Limited Run had. And it came damaged, and it came damaged in such a way that I can't return it because technically the plastic was broken. I tried to explain it, but whatever. I was like, whatever. I like the game. It doesn't matter at this point. I'm just going to keep it. Lo and behold, they finally announced a physical for the second game on PS4 and PS5. And I played it on the Switch, actually. I already beat it, to be completely honest. And the game functions well. It plays well. There are a little bit of frame dips here and there. But guess what? It's not because of the stuff on the screen. It's because of the engine. I think it's Unity, and I think in Unity and the Switch, just they don't work like this. They don't crisscross well. It's like lamb and tuna fish. You just put it in pasta and hope for the best. But either way, I did plan to pick that up eventually physically through VGP once they get it in on the PS5 because that I could always play that on the portal. So PMP Games actually had a wacky sale on a bunch of limited run stuff. And ironically, Freedom Planet 1 was one of those, but they only had the special version of the PS4 copy. And this was discounted down to the price of the normal one. So for that, I was like, okay. And then I checked eBay just to make sure I wasn't tripping. And sure enough, this was like $40 less than what it was on eBay. So I was like, oh, well, upgrade is an upgrade. And speaking of upgrades, Tokyo Clan Pool. This was brought up by East Asia Soft. This is originally a dungeon crawling RPG that was on the Vita. A little risque. That's why it never came out over here. And even this, which was upgraded to the, to the Switch, they did have to take out, or from what I understand, edit out a few things just to get it to go. Because this can't actually show up on the eShop. It's pretty bad, allegedly. And as much as I'm not as much of a cultured individual as I used to be, sometimes I I can appreciate a good battle system, as it were. Cat Quest, sorry, I'm getting used to this new light I got. The Furtastic trilogy. This is weird. First they do Cat Quest, then they do Cat Quest 1 and 2 together, then they release Cat Quest 3, and then they do a bundle with all three, and it's different publishers. I imagine there was some wackiness in there. So I got rid of the other two, and I upgraded to the full on-cart version of all three. These are in no particular order, in case you can't tell. We're just bouncing back and forth. Sonic and Shadow Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. This is Sonic Generations, which came out some time ago. Arguably the game that got me back into Sonic the Hedgehog. I really enjoyed Sonic Generations and all the callbacks it had between the 3D and the 2D games. And this version, obviously, they added Shadow to it, and nothing to do with the movie. That came out around the same time that this game released. Absolutely not. That's just pure coincidence. And for the record, I actually just watched the movie the other day. I don't know how Sega keeps making each thing Sonic the Hedgehog cinema related better than the last. I mean, are they like Oscar-worthy movies? No, but each one is funny, and there's so many nods to different games, and things like I was pointing out to my wife as we watched it, like, oh, that's the original Sega mascot, if you know, you know. And she's like, really? Like, I always thought it was Sonic. It's like, no, actually it was this weird bunny guy. Stuff like that. But obviously I haven't popped it in yet. I actually did want to replay Sonic Generations for a remakes and replays at one point. But then this was announced, so I figured I would just wait, and at least this way I can do the new Shadow content as well, because I'd actually never played Shadow the Hedgehog. The Sega Genesis collection. This has since been delisted from Steam, the eShop, and PSN. Presumably Sega has something in the works for like another retro collection, because with Sega we get one at least once a year. And I do have this on the Switch, and I did keep it on the Switch. But from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody who knows more than I do, apparently the Switch version is missing a game for one reason or another. Like, it was like a licensing thing or some wackadoo crap. I have no idea. Regardless, in some instances, there are still frame drops due to the emulation on the Switch. And, if you guys have been keeping up with Video Games Gaiden, even the fast forward for Shining Force did give me a little bit of an issue to start. Speaking of Shining Force, Shining Resonance. I originally had the Steelbook version on the Switch, and it's really funny though. First off, it looks great on the Switch regardless. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It does get a little janky in terms of the frame rate when there's a bunch of song effects going on. I can tell you that much, thus I wanted to upgrade it. But here's something, and I thought I was the only person who thought this, and apparently it's a widespread thing. I do follow the channel Monado Max, and he and I kind of echo the same sentiment of, if they give me a Steelbook, I want the normal case to go with it, because it just looks weird. And a bunch of you guys who have seen photos of how I have to store my games, trust me, if a Steelbook takes up too much space, that bullshit going in the closet. I don't care if it looks awesome or not. I need everything uniform, because otherwise it don't fit. All right, I have very limited space. As it is, the bullshit shelf over there, which I'm still getting used to the way this camera displays things, it's up to the ceiling. If it falls down, my wife and I are both concussed. It's wonderful. Layers of Fear. Now, this I did order as part of a bundle from a limited run. I don't know how fucking long ago. But this has Layers of Fear 2, and it also has the original and some new, the originals and some new DLCs as well. This is from Blooper Team. I know, so Blooper Team released Layers of Fear, and everybody loved it. And then Revisionist History came in, and nobody liked it. And then they released Layers of Fear 2, and nobody liked it. And then they released the Medium, and some people liked it. I was one of them. And then a bunch of people didn't like it. And then Silent Hill 2, the remake, came out, and everybody got upset and that Blooper Team was doing it. And I'm thinking, why? I have no problems with them. So I haven't played any of the Layers of Fear games yet, but I did have the version on PS4. So thus the upgrade to PS5 because it has everything else in it. And part of the game I bundled with that was Ninja 5.0. I've wanted this on the Game Boy Advance for pour one out for Games of War wherever you are, man. He used to sing praises about this game all the time on the Game Boy Advance, and I always wanted to play it. But by the time I had heard about it, it was already well over $200. And now this is like one of those things you just don't look at, after a certain amount of time. Card only, I'm talking. So when Limited Run said they were putting this out, I was like, you know what, fuck it. I am not waiting for VGP to get it. I'm just going to order it. So I had ordered it with Layers of Fear, as well as some other game that's in here, and I'm just going to pull it out right now just to save us all some time. And originally, I was actually hoping this would show up on PlayAsia because it tends to be less expensive, but it never did. And that is Shadows of the Damned Remastered, which I think, they call Hella Remastered. And between this and the Lollipop Chainsaw Remaster, it seems like Grasshopper manufactured games just don't remaster well. I don't know why that is. The games are competent. They're fun. I've beaten both Lollipop and I've beaten Shadows of the Damned, and they're very fun games to me. I also recently finished, I'm kind of spoiling the So Nice They Named It Twice challenge. I recently beat No More Heroes 2 on the Switch, and I thought the port was perfectly fine, and everybody says it's hot shit. I don't know if it's just because it's cool to hate on how these things are ported or what, but the Lollipop and the Shadows of the Damned, I have watched some gameplay, and I'm like, oh yeah, they some stuff I think they changed for the better, but some of it I'm just like, why is this a problem? Like problem as in why is the PS5 struggling with this? And it's inherently how they port it from Unreal 3 to 5. It's not a 1-for-1 apparently. It's like a 1 to a 1.15. So certain stuff will just inherently be screwed up. And when it comes to patching these things, like, nope, got my money, I'm out. In the case of Lollipop, they did patch the heck out of it. And I do know the PS5 version, at least according to Digital Foundry, has a bunch of problems. But then again, everybody says, oh, then we'll play it on PC. And then everybody on PC isn't happy anyway. So it's no wonder that the gaming landscape is in such a weird place, because apparently everything is just made shoddily, which I disagree with. I think I'll put it to you this way. While I would love everything to be complete on cart, and if I do have an opportunity to do that, hands down, I will do that. No fault to you folks that wait for that. But sometimes I think being able to patch a game after the fact is a benefit, because PC games, they've been doing this ever since the 90s. Like, anytime I bought a PC game, first thing I would do was go to the official website at www.whateverthehell.com and download the patch. That was like part of it, just always, okay, there's 1.1, 1.2, because that's just how it worked. But when we came into this new generation, the way how arguably, stuff on a disc is just a key so you can download it. Okay, that's bullshit. Now you're just wasting, resources, right? You got to put something on it. But games are also ballooning to the point where it just doesn't fit on a disc. I downloaded Black Myth Wukong on my laptop. It's 130 gigs. And I was like, okay, I'll go do something else. But anyway, long-winded way to say, from what I understand, this game did get patched a bit. So I'm looking forward to replaying that again for remakes and replays, because I really did enjoy Shadows of the Damned. That's something that my wife watched me play as well. Leisure Suit Larry with the Wet Dreams Saga. Yes, the Wet Dreams Saga. I played the first one. I thought it was way fun. I played it on the Switch. My wife was co-pilot with me, and we both enjoyed it enough to say, hey, yeah, we definitely got to get the sequel, which I did have on Switch, and apparently it went rare, so I sold it, and VGP had this on sale for less than I sold 2 and 1, a sealed copy of 2 and a open copy of 1 for, like significantly less. So this was, a good upgrade for me because, this is something I played on the TV with her. It's not something I was playing handheld, so it's moot point. Plus, I have shelf space. Again, theme here. Summon Night 6, Lost Borders. I had this on the Vita. If you are a Vita collector, which I know some folks, some of you guys are, the sound on the Vita version of this is in mono. I don't know why that's a thing. As a matter of fact, I recently discovered I've been recording my audio in mono, and the whole time I've just been, duplicating tracks and switching the ears around. Now I'm like, I could have been recording in stereo the whole time, because I'm old. But I played Summon Night 5 on the PSP. This was done by Gaijin Works, Victor Ireland's, I guess you could say, I don't want to say swan song because I recently listened to a podcast that interviewed him and he still is active, just not doing video game stuff. And, it was basically like the second coming of working designs. And, ultimately they did a handful of games and it just didn't pan out. Summon Night is a very strange series. Okay, I don't know what happened there. The camera locked up. So I really enjoyed Summon Night 5. But it's a very strange series because it's like part dating sim, part choose your own adventure through dialogue choices, part, hey, let's hang out, and then it's a strategy RPG on top of it. So I think it's like a niche within a niche within a niche. It also had really only the spin-offs were ever released out over here. And then we got 5, and then, Vic wanted to do 6, which is a celebration of all the previous Summon Night games. So a niche within a niche within a niche and a celebration of said niche. So if you weren't in the know, that's pretty much, I think, the only people who bought it, myself included. I went for it on the Vita because at the time I was heavy into Vita collecting, not knowing that the sound was problematic. And it was never patched or anything, just because I think it was too expensive for them to get the certification to patch it out or something like that, from what I understand. Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered. I grew up playing these games, man, for various reasons, which, you can probably put 2 and 2 together. Tomb Raider 2 is arguably my favorite of the original trilogy, just because it was so expanded, and the first game was really clunky. Even for back then, it was really clunky. But I've been looking forward to getting this remaster physically because they updated the controls a bit. And a lot of people still say, it still has a little bit of that 90s jank, but I appreciate that. If you are interested in playing the original Tomb Raider but want it modernized a bit, and you want like that early 2000s jank, I think it's Tomb Raider Anniversary. That is a technical remake of the original Tomb Raider. With, all the bullshitty stuff in there. I think it was like 2006. It's backwards compatible on the Xbox. It's part of a physical collection on the PS3, and it's also on PC. I have played that version, and I can tell you it does work very well, but it does have like that very weird where the camera kind of just doesn't want to move other than left and right. So keep that in mind. Oh, God. I am so bad with Chinese pronunciation. Shongyong 6, or was it Shongyong Sword, the Gate of Firmament? If I offended anybody, I am so sorry. This game originally came out on the PS4 through East Asia Soft and Play Asia, and it went stupid rare and expensive. They reprinted it on the PS5. I have been very interested in this particular RPG series. It's basically, the Chinese version of Final Fantasy. And a lot of people say, it's really good. And it has a lot of drama in it. And, but they're also very long, not because the games are long, but the lore dumping, the exposition is very long and drawn out. So you kind of have to be in for the long haul to play these games. And, I have 7 on the PS4. And I believe that also came on the Switch at one point, but you know how it is. Alan Wake 2 Deluxe. This was such a great game, such a great treat. The old guard of Asgard, or one of the best metal rock and roll 80s glam bands that never existed to ever exist. So freaking good. I will say, though, with Alan Wake 2, towards the end, I got really, really sick of the endless dudes. To the point where I was like, you know what? I am putting on easy. I don't care anymore. I want to enjoy the game and see what the hell happens. It's an excellent game overall, though. Definitely a feast for the eyes, a feast for the ears. And the callbacks, the lore dumping, everything Remedy does is freaking gold, man. As much as everybody shit on Control when it first came out, when I eventually played it, I was like, oh my God, this is like the Alan Wake, Quantum Break, X-Files spin-off game I always wanted, you know? Alan Wake 2 delivers on all that, and it ties all the universes together. It's excellent. I can't recommend it enough. It also comes with a digital copy of Alan Wake Remastered if you didn't pick up the physical. I think it's also on, I think it was free on PSN at one point too. This does include the DLC, which I have not played, and thus that. But I am definitely going to play the DLC for this because I really enjoyed it. And the DLC for Control, if you haven't played it, is just as good. I highly recommend doing that before you jump into Alan Wake 2. Glaylancer and Glugugula collection. If you don't know what Glugugula is, it's technically Wings of War, which was a Genesis game. Glaylancer is also a Genesis game and one of my favorite shmups of all time, or as a good friend of mine calls, one of those sociopath games of all time. Glaylancer is excellent. At this point, I think it's been re-released like 50 times, both through a retro-bit Genesis release, a Japanese Sega release, which I picked up several years ago because the cover just looked amazing. And then this version here, which was released by Limited Run. I don't know. I never saw VGP get this one. It must have been before they started to act as a distributor. I actually had to go on eBay for this one. And I keep saying it, and I'm going to say it again because, you know, the collecting scene is very weird. If you watch a game long enough, eventually the seller is going to get desperate, myself included, and they will just send out a 15 to 20% discount. That's when you either take that shit or try to get an extra $5. Because at that point, it's been chilling up there for a month or two, and they don't care. They just need it out of their lives. And this was going for $79.99. I got somebody to go in at $44.99. So, and it's sealed. So, you know, you just have to be patient. I mean, I've already played Glaylancer and Wings of War before, you know. I just wanted to save on the shelf space because I sold my Wings of War. Because for those of you who don't know, my rule is if I own a game legitimately in any way, shape, or medium, I don't care how I play it. I have an analog and all that fun stuff anyway. I can pretty much do whatever the hell I want. This saved me a ton of space, and literally Wings of War paid for this and then some. Taito Milestone Collections 3, arguably way better than Milestone Collection 1, a little bit better than Milestone Collection 2. This one has, I think it's Growl, Kadash, and there's something else. Rainbow Islands, and I forget the name of it. It's like Taito Wrestling, or not Wrestle War. That's something else. But I really just picked this up for Growl because I've always wanted it. And it's a really expensive Genesis game, so this was truthfully just the best way for me to pick it up. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the course pack. All right. Now, this has been out for a bit, but there's some confusion here. So there's a version with the downloadable code. There is a version with waves 1 through 5. And then there's a version with waves 1 through 6 on the cart. This is with waves 1 through 6 on the cart. It was only released in the United Arab Emirates areas, right? Distinguishable by this Turkey over here. It is still technically an NTSC copy, but due to the way their laws work, certain stuff has to be cart complete, from what I understand, and in this case, a season pass technically has to be complete on the cart. VGP got a very limited number of these. I figured, fuck it, let me try to order it, see if it goes through, and it went through. And I already sold off my original copy of Deluxe. Now, if I already have Switch Online, why would I pick this up? To be completely honest, my Switch Online lapsed like 4 months ago, and my wife was like, "Hey, let's play Mario Kart," and I was like, "Okay," and she's like, "Why are half the courses gone?" I was like, so instead of paying $50 for another year, which I did eventually, I decided to spend $80 and get this complete on cart. And you know what? It pays for itself, right? And if we're going into this very weird circumstance with Switch 2 and all this stuff, I don't know how backwards compatibility is going to work. They've said most stuff is going to work. Again, some people have said probably the Labo stuff isn't going to work, which makes complete sense. Maybe the race car thing, I think that was on Switch. But I think having this complete, just in case I do decide not to renew it, because let's be honest, besides the virtual console stuff, Nintendo Online is kind of dead. Anytime I play Mario Kart, it's with my wife. And if we do it, it's usually tabletop because we're doing something, we're on our way somewhere. So it only makes sense I would have access to this full tilt. And that's how I think of it. All right. Next up, for the upgrades. Ty the Tasmanian Tiger Bush Rescue Bundle. As I watched Reed Louie go over to Amazon and look this up immediately because he probably didn't know about it. And if he did know about it, it's probably in a future video that he hasn't put up yet. But whatever. This is how we roll here on the Return to Mother Base program. All right. So originally, this whole set came out with like the first game on the cart. The rest were digital. This is everything physically on the cart. Amazon had this on sale for less than the Not Stupid edition by about 10 or 12 bucks. So it only made sense for me to, after all this talk of me today going on about shelf space, to get the thing that completely negates all of that, which is why we do what we do here on the Return to Mother Base program. So this has, I think it's 1, 2, and 4. 3 was on the GBA, and for whatever reason, they ignore it. It has a soundtrack and an art book, and that's it. So I imagine this art book is pretty dense. I've never played any of the Tasmanian Tiger games. My wife played the first one. She really enjoyed it. She said is pretty much determined I would enjoy it because as she put it, it's not Crash Bandicoot, so I think you'll like it. All right. Now, this one here is a biggie. Ys, the Oath and Felghana, the refined edition. Ys the Oath and Felghana is my favorite Ys game. It is the best Ys game. All you Ys 8 people, sit down. Sit down. This is the better game. All right, no, but seriously, Ys 8, I have to replay it, like, truthfully. I think it was just all the tower defense bullshit. The final boss in this game is still one of my favorite boss fights of all time. And I have a very strange history with this game. I originally started to play it on PC way back in the day. And compatibility problems. We're talking like Windows 7, I think, maybe, when it was just released. And I think the game kept freezing and locking after I want to say like the second or third dungeon. And I played Ys 1 and 2 on Steam, and I was like, oh man, I can't play the third one. Then I found out it was on PSP. So through the methods of sorcery, I downloaded it to my PSP. And eventually I was like, oh man, this was really freaking good. I bought a physical copy, presumably on East Starland for a song, which it is now not worth a song. And when I heard this was coming out, this has been in Japan for a minute, and it did not have English on cart. It's a localization from Exe, which is a whole other weird thing because apparently they still have the license for the localization of this game. But, almost there. But the other oddity to it is that I almost imported this a year and a half ago because I was like, I already beat it. I know what I'm doing. How hard could it be? And something told me not to. And then all of a sudden this got announced. I was like, okay, perfect. And they added like voice acting and all this other stuff. So I'm looking forward to replaying this one as another remakes and replays because with Oath and Felghana, I remember vividly my wife sitting over there on the bed watching something on Netflix on the iPad while I was sitting in this chair, like literally sitting down, standing up, like doing one of these things on the last boss because the last boss is basically a shmup or sociopath boss fight, as it were, right? And for those of you who know, if something is really intense, I tend to play standing up. And this was going back and forth between manageable and not manageable. So it was kind of like musical chairs. And I remember her just looking over me and just going, you doing squats or are you playing a video game? I don't know. That just always stuck with me. Pokemon Ultra Moon. All right. So this is technically not an upgrade. This is the NTSC version. You can get a much more affordable version doing the United Emirates version or Arab Emirates version. I had the Steelbook dual pack of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, actually, as well as Sun and Moon. And a little birdie told me that A, they were taking up a ton of space, and B, they're apparently worth a ton of money. So I sold those, and I rebought Ultra Moon and Regular Moon. Regular Moon is not here yet, but Ultra Moon came in, and this was sealed, and it was only $39.99. So I think what happened was the guy on eBay saw the price for the Emirates version and just priced it the same, not realizing it was a full-blown NTSC version. So there you have it. I have not played Ultra Moon. I did play Regular Moon, and I really enjoyed it. And I am looking forward to playing this one because I've been really in the mood for like a Pokemon-style game lately. And I trust me, I have a bunch of them. It's just a matter of me wanting to sit down and play one because there's so much stuff going on with new releases. And, I'm actually trying to make a very conscious effort into my So Nice, they named it twice, challenge. And I've been doing really well with it. But also one game just recently got a big physical release that I was pretty much sure wasn't going to happen. So I kind of want to keep my schedule open for that because I'm playing the first entry right now. And, So Nice, we named it twice. I enjoyed enough where I already want to jump right into the second one the moment I can. Gungnir. Sting just keeps on hitting with these RPGs, man. So I thought I had this physically. I must have had this physically. I do have it digitally on my Vita, but for the longest time thought I had this physically because when I was cataloging everything, as I've been bringing stuff home from the storage unit, the PSP games, like I had a bunch over there because I had them digitally. And when I went over there, I was like, wait a minute, where's Gungnir? And I checked my Game Eye app and it wasn't in there, but I remember buying this from East Starland back in the day for like $14.95 or something like that. And I was thinking I would have never sold a Sting RPG. There is no way in hell. I will have triplicates of Nights in the Nightmare before I sell a Sting RPG. And apparently I did. So I rebought Gungnir, which is part of the Department Heaven series in case you don't know. They've already done a remaster of Idriga Union. They just did one of Riviera. I'm waiting for one of Gungnir, and if they ever figure out how to do touchscreen mechanics properly, maybe they'll do Nights in the Nightmare again. Ivy the Kiwi on the Nintendo DS. I originally had this on the Wii. And Ivy the Kiwi, in case you don't know, is it's a Yu Suzuki joint, for what it's worth, right? And this is a puzzle platforming game, kind of like physics. Basically, Ivy runs from left to right, and you manipulate vines to use physics to propel her through the stage and through the obstacles and all that stuff. Had it on the Wii. Why is the DS an upgrade? I think he could put 2 and 2 together. It's a lot more enjoyable to be doing this than it is to be doing this. Okay? So I consider it an upgrade. Plus, this was also $12 less than what I sold the Wii version for. All right. Last upgrade, then we have 3 regular games, and we're getting the hell out of here. Star Tropics. This was on my list of NES games to get box complete as I wrap up the retro collecting. I had this on cart, and at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I had fully intended, or hoped rather, to get a box complete copy of Zoda's Revenge and Star Tropics with the letter from your uncle at the show, and I only found Zoda's Revenge. And, again, I'm on eBay. I'm watching. And for whatever reason, this dude dropped this down to $38 or $35, something ridiculous. And I was like, there must be something wrong with this. Like, that this guy's just willing to part with it. Box complete, has the styrofoam, the plastic, everything. Even the mail-in to subscribe to Nintendo Power. I wonder if anybody's still at the address. And he sends this offer out, and I couldn't believe this. I sent Emperor Fox the link. I was like, is this legit? And he's like, dude, buy it. That's amazing. And I was like, I'm gonna offer less. And he's like, you're such a dick. And and the guy knocked off a couple of extra bucks, and he mailed it out. And honestly, it's in better shape than it was in the pictures. It looks literally like the dude opened it, popped it in, went, ew, I don't like this game, and put it back. It's pretty much brand new. Even though these box protectors make them look better, this is literally what it looks like. It's nuts. Never seen such a good condition NES game for that amount of money before. Quiet Place. There it is. So if you've watched these movies, they're horror movies, and my wife and I like to play these first-person horror-y thingies at Halloween, and this was on sale for $19.99 during the Black Friday season. So you can imagine how long this has been kicking around in the do a pickup video on it bucket. Saving it for the Halloween season. Space Marine 2. So I finished the original Space Marine on the PC. I enjoyed it up until the end because it started to feel very samey and it started to drag on and on and on to the point where I told myself I am not getting this game day one because I was afraid it was going to be the same thing. Everyone I know who has played it has said I am an idiot and I should have picked it up and played it immediately because it is everything I love about a third-person action game. It's high octane. It's tactical, it's gore, it's loud, it's obnoxious. Everything I love. And one of my friends even told me, he's like, dude, you like that first person shooter one, but you didn't pick up the third person one? I thought you were Mr. Oh, I like third person more than first person. And he's right. So thus I picked it up. I obviously haven't played it yet. And then finally, because Ubisoft is Ubisoft and this stuff drops like, like hot shit after a week or two, Star Wars Outlaws got this for $34.99 after price matching and all this other bullshit during the Black Friday season. Obviously, I haven't popped it in yet. I know a lot of people have been harping on the protagonist and how she isn't very Star Wars-y and all that. What does that mean? Like I'm not knocking if you don't like a character design. I totally get it. But what does that mean? Because according to current pop culture, Pedro Pascal is in everything, So just like Helen Hunt was in everything back in the early 90s, but I digress. I don't think this character looks, I'm not going to say bad. It looks kind of generic, but I enjoy Star Wars to the point where I am willing to check this out, despite it being an open world Ubisoft joint, on a discount. Because, truthfully, I'm not super hot on what Disney is doing with Star Wars right now. It's too much, and then what they do is not enough at the same time, for what I want, right? Obi-Wan I thought was great. A lot of people told me I'm out of my damn mind. You may be saying the same thing. I appreciated the story going into his PTSD. I really enjoyed that, and my best friend and I, we live off of the higher ground meme to this day, So I am looking forward to jumping into this one because I actually was thinking about doing some sort of weird hybrid licensed game challenge at one point this year. Basically just touching on some key movies and TV show franchises I really enjoy and kind of doing a retrospective of about the show or the movie or something like that. But I'm still like throwing that around in my head just because it's been a little wacky here lately. And it's one of those things where I have a ton of time, but I just don't have time to sit down to record things because I talk a lot. Anyway, that's going to do it for this All-American Pickup video. And guess what? It was mostly All-American. I've been Alex, and I'll see you all in the next video. Upgrade.